the mind function? One of the things we have to carefully examine, well, the only thing really that we really have to examine is our own mind function. That is, even if what we are thinking is true, it's only a thought. You see what I'm saying? It's only a thought. And the key in that process, you'll hear me say that a lot, it's only a thought. What it means is that you are able to choose between thoughts. All right? That you are able to choose those that will be consistent with what you desire, in opposition to choosing those that are inconsistent with what you desire.
It's a matter of clarity.
It's a matter of clarity. There are times when other things must be done. One of the things is in believing that life is always going to be like that, smooth.
Right.
It's not. It wouldn't be life.
Right.
So it's all in how you take whatever it is that's going on that will lift and elevate you. All in if you deal with it as just what it is. Your opinion about something. Your opinion about having your finger chopped off. Okay? The finger is gone. The reality of the situation is gone. The reality has passed. It has happened. It is done. You must forget it and go on. So, it's all a matter of thinking. It's all a matter of thinking and choosing which thoughts you desire. Even when they do not go as you desire them to go, even though it is right, it is correct, you must let it go. Even when you hold it up that others should do this, that is wrong. It is wrong not because there's something inherently wrong in it. It is wrong because you can do absolutely nothing about what others do. And therefore to hold on to it in terms of others can only cause you pain. So it is for you and you only. If I find truth and you find truth, we will have no problem together. You understand?
I think so.
But if I try to project it upon you, we will have a problem. You see, once we understand, I've spent a lot of time talking about letting everything go. Okay?
Yeah.
The value in that is when all thoughts hold the same weight, you can now, as thoughts, you can now choose the ones you desire. You understand? But when one holds more weight than the other, you don't have a choice.
Okay. This is an important thought. This is not an important thought.
Right.
That's what we do.
Right. You can say that what I am doing, I am on automatic, and this is not good. This is not good for what I'm doing. All right? You see, I have this I'm perfect, I've got it.
Right.
And I'm looking at you and I'm judging you through it. Well, see, the problem is you're judging me through it. That's the problem. All right? Not the thought, but the problem is the judgment. So, it is in being able to choose whether it is right or whether it is correct or incorrect.
As in conditions to or non.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. David?
Lately I've been having the desire to cut through all thoughts by knowing what I truly feel inside.
Mm-hmm.
You know, could you, is that, I mean, is it to say, well, none of it, one way or the other?
Yeah.
What do I really feel in here?
Yes.
You know?
Okay. Let's see, that is true, but that's fairly a bit more complex. Okay? When you say, Okay, I wish to cut through all thoughts. I wish to get to what I really feel in here. See, one of the things, the only thing you're really ever going to feel that's real, that is yourself, is joy. All right? So, if it isn't joy, then you haven't cut through. That's the problem. That's the complexity of it. To really determine at its absolute bottom line what it is that you feel. That energy comes up and you say, I'm afraid. I'm really afraid. No, you're not. That's an opinion about what is happening and will not allow you to do that thing that is best for you in that moment. It's an excitement. It's a flow of energy. And if you think of it as being afraid, or if you allow it to freeze you, then it is an opinion. If it pumps you up and you're ready to go, you're ready to do whatever it is that needs to be done, it is correct. Now you know who you are, and who you are at its absolute nature is joyful and happy. That energy makes you feel good. If it doesn't make you feel good, if it doesn't make you excited, there's an opinion lurking there. So the problem is coming all the way through to that bottom line. When we say, I really feel, what we're saying generally is what I think. Feeling is a sensation. You see, I want it there. I don't even care about it, in a sense. That is, I'm not focused on it. I'm focused on what it is that I desire to do. And I just do it. It is a quarterback standing in the pocket. Defensive linemen all around him, coming after him. He sees them. He has that experience of that energy, but his attention never wavers from pop. That's what a Joe Montana is. Okay, that's not a T-Zac. Okay, T-Zac gets a little confused. You know, whoa. That's a Joe Montana. Doesn't matter. He knows it's coming. But pop. The point is, when you're focused on what you have to do, the energy's there, you feel good. Afterwards, you feel cleansed. You feel, when it's over with, you feel, there's no wish I had, a thought, I shoulda, coulda. It's just done. Make sense?
Yeah.
So there's that feeling good. Underneath that whole thing of energy flow feels good. Did you want to say something, Mark?
Yeah. I had an experience where I was getting a bunch of things, information, like from a bunch of different directions simultaneously. And I decided, instead of the first thing I wanted to do was blame somebody, and the next thing I wanted to do was feel sorry about myself. And I just decided that I really wanted to know what the answer to this was, because it was a problem I've been in for quite a while. I didn't want to be in this situation anymore. So I just let the energy move. And it didn't take a few minutes. It took the entire day for it to move through. And I saw how what I did put myself in the situation that I was in.
Yeah.
And I had nothing to say to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to say because I put myself there.
Yeah.
And the responsibility for not being there again was totally up to me.
Right.
And that's what you were just talking about.
Yes.
Psychologically.
One of the things that you really must come to know, very simple. All of these things that you consider to be important enough to get upset about are not important. They're only opinions about something. And once we know that, it's like it all becomes rather silly, you know. I look at things and, you know, it doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me to want to argue. It doesn't make sense to me to get upset. It just doesn't make any sense, because when I look at what we're talking about, we're really talking about something that has no root in anything. It's just kind of something that sits there in the air.
Yeah.
And when you really look at it, you say, wait a minute. None of this is about anything. That's when you really begin to understand it. And that's when other people really start to get upset with you. Because it's kind of like, I don't understand. They will be highly upset. And you'll say to yourself, for what? Really, for what? You begin to look at the rationale of your mind. And really your rationale, when you're real honest with yourself, has nothing to do with what's going on inside. What's going on inside is a habit that has lost its words. And what goes on in here is that we justify the habit after the fact. Well, why are you? Well, because, and you see, you did, and blah, blah, and it happened, and they, and the world, and Hussein, and...
Yeah.
No. That's justification. You see? So, what we are coming to is our true self. And that you get a glimpse of that true self when you look at that stuff that's going on and you say, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. That glimpse, that moment, it is the true self looking and saying, for what? You understand what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. I don't understand. I understand, but I don't understand. I understand why people do what they do. I understood why I did what I did. But it just stopped right in the air. It was just justification out of my head. All the years of extreme anger and violence. When I really looked at it, I had absolutely no reason to be angry about anything. Absolutely none. I heard an interesting song. I've heard this song for a long time, but you have to kind of change the words. Willie Nelson, to all the girls I've loved before, moving in and out my door. Change the words from all the girls I've loved before to all the experiences I've had before. And it becomes an absolutely wonderful song. Thanks to all the experiences that I've had in my life, I now see it has brought me to this point, to the person that I am. To understand is just stuff just hanging there. And really doesn't mean a lot of anything. Sometimes in relationships, what will happen is the recognition of aloneness will burst into loneliness. That is, I'm arguing with the person I care about, and all of a sudden you realize, Well, they could be gone, or they could leave, or they couldn't care anymore, or whatever all that is. And you get this feeling in the pit of your stomach. It's an opinion. Not the feeling, but the way it feels is an opinion. That's what stops it there and makes you sick. Makes you want to throw up. The opinion, oh my God. But see, if you recognize, I'm alone. I really am alone. No matter, if you look back at all your relationships, whether these be relationships with your parents, with whomever, doesn't have to be that, quote, lover-lovey relationship. Okay. You have always been afraid to be alone because as a small child you were helpless. You see? You were helpless, and in what am I going to do? The panic of a little kid who looks around in the department store and mommy isn't there. Doesn't know what to do. He's been fed, he's been clothed, all that. So what happens is that comes forward.
Disguise.
Well, it comes forward purely, and what you do is you color it in. Is that a dog?
It's so me.
Yeah. You see, you now justify it with now when it has nothing to do, doesn't have anything to do with now, but has everything to do with not outgrowing that as a little child. As you grew and became independent, you never became independent because relationships are, in the unhealthy way, dependent. It is not pure love, but it is adulterated by dependency. That is why I say we must look, we must be honest with all attitudes. We think we love when most often we are dependent upon someone else for something. Women quite often are dependent upon their children as much as their children are dependent upon them. They are dependent upon their children to love them. But at the same time, those expectations can be there. Those are the things you must be careful of. You understand there is a spoken word, and then there's a word without,
That hasn't been said.
that was said a long time ago, but so long ago the word itself was forgotten, but the reaction still is within you. That is, how can you say this to me? Or having a feeling about that. You see? Having a feeling about that is still the expectation, you see?
That's our condition.
Right.
So it's not the
So
condition.
ultimately you come to zip in that response. You just, because you understand what growth is, and you understand how the foolish child, in its effort to become independent,
Okay.
is very foolish. Okay? If you look, you see what you did. You know what you thought, you know. What you must understand is that it has nothing to do with you, but it has to do with process. The process of growing up. You have to become a fool before you can become wise. You cannot be wise without first experiencing foolishness. And this is why a person is not, in general, not specifically, it does not become an adult to somewhere around 40, you start to grow up. It's true. Because it takes that many years to Right, right, right. To get over yourself. And sometimes in the getting over yourself, we take it to the other extreme. That is, we become bitter. But see, we still haven't gotten over ourselves. We only understand two sides, to the right or to the left. See, so we have to, I guess it is from that period of in our 40s to in our 60s and 70s, it takes us to work out the unspoken habits.
Okay, that's why old people don't get bitter. They're really pretty cool.
Some of them, yeah.
The ones that don't get bitter.
Yeah.
The ones that get bitter.
Those who work it out, they'll tell you, hon, it ain't worth it.
Right.
And go on about their business, shuffle on off to Buffalo, you know. Yeah. It ain't that important. They have learned that second level. The second level being the level of the unspoken habit. We can find ourselves dealing with the spoken habit fairly easily, but it is the unspoken habit, the reaction that comes up, and we're in it, and we're off and running, and we don't even know it. Boy, I'm mad. I'm just mad. Well, it's time to get unmad, because what it is that makes you feel that way is not the situation, but what makes you feel so uncomfortable is the lack of flow of energy. When you allow the energy to flow, you don't get angry, you get excited. You see, there's a difference. That feeling runs through you and there's an excitement. There are two questions. If you use it, you will forever be all right. First question, what? Second question, how? I'm angry. What is anger? Anger is when you want something to happen that is not happening, and you get frustrated. That frustration, because that energy you're not allowing it to go anywhere, turns to anger. So, anger is frustration. But see, we have to go back to the question. I said, the first question is what? I'm angry. Second question is how? See, I just answered how. How did I get angry? Because I expected X, and X isn't happening, and I am determined that X is going to happen, and X is not happening, and I am frustrated. And I am frustrated. That's how I'm angry. So now I have anger. The next question is, how do I get rid of it? You see? I've answered what? Anger. Now how? How do I do something about this? I do something about this by focusing right on the feelings. Now, I have to reiterate this many, many times. Not what you think. What you think is not what you feel. You do not feel with your mind. You do not feel with your thoughts. You feel with the nerve endings in your body. Without nerve endings, you don't feel anything. You may think a lot, but you do not feel. So I want that known, because it is this division that you must recognize. That is the how. Once you recognize it, and recognize all you have to do is let the energy flow. When it flows, you don't feel like that anymore. you don't feel anymore because the energy is moving. Something toward a positive goal is happening. That's all. It's your mind. It's your mind that puts the cap on. You see? So the questions, what and how, that's all you ever need to know. See, that's real simple. What and how? What's happening? How is it happening? And at each step, you answer the question, everything is fine. You understand? Mind is this thing mind is really has developed into self-importance rather than the riddle-solving tool that it should be. It's a tool. It's just misused. It's an axe. Axe is great. You chop wood, you chop trees, you use your axe to trim little shavings off. The only problem you got a problem with it is when somebody decides to hit somebody in the head with it. See, it's still the same tool, it's just used toward a non-positive goal. That's all. Mind is the same way. So it must be understood for what it is. It's nothing but an opinion. All things, nothing is, there's not anything that's a real problem unless somebody makes a real problem out of it. That is, even finding yourself in the midst of war is not a real problem. And I say real problem, that is, all this traumatic things that happen inside your head, unless you get into it. It's a constant question and answer. What's happening? How? What's happening? How? What's happening? How do I get out of it? What's happening? How do I get out of it? And it is a consistent action. So you do not wish to lose mind. It's something I've said to you before, that the clarity of that is to lose the attachment to the mind. That's the problem. The attachment to it gives this self-importance. The problem is not, with everyone, the problem is not the problem. The issue is we want to solve the problem the way we want it solved so that we are right. And the issue, that clouds it. That makes you unable to solve the problem healthily. It makes you unable to solve the problem because you're looking, there is something in the equation that should not be there. You. See, but if you're looking for the answer in relationship to you, it's not going to work. You can get little bits and pieces of it. Saddam wanted the answer in relationship to him. Didn't work. When you look across that ocean to the great satanic America across the ocean, the great Satan, the great Satan got some shit for your behind. See, you have to look and you have to say, I'm the size of South Dakota. Okay. You see, and these guys are big. Not only are they big, but they have technological stuff See, you have to look at the reality, not how I want it to come out. Well, it's going to come out because I'm going to call to my Muslim brothers and there's going to be an uprising around the world. And there's going to be bombings and all this. And he said, help. And everybody said, And after it began to go down, they really didn't hear anything. 24 hours a day, dropping bombs that can spot an individual and chase him down the street. Having bombs that have a higher IQ than most school kids in America. Everybody said, well, Saddam, rah, 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 go team, go, but we will be cheerleaders. You see, all I'm saying is that there is a reality that must be recognized and dealt with in order for an individual to achieve those things that they desire to achieve. There must be questions and answers that are not related personally to you, even though it may be about you, because you're not going to find the answer until it is you, your thought process is looked at objectively. And once you do that, then you see, this is why question is answered. This is why this is happening. And there are times when you'll say, but I did everything right. Yeah. Why is this negative part happening? Because when you let dogs into the house, they bring in fleas. Nice, sweet doggy. Yay. Come on in. Dogs bring in fleas. All I'm saying is, one side always brings with it the other side. You say, wow, if I had $1 million, I'd be happy. And then you start saying, damn, well, why are all these people always trying to steal from me? Well, because you got $1 million. They're not trying to steal from a person that doesn't have any money. It doesn't make sense. So when you bring one side, you also bring the other. That's why the mind tells you that everything's going to be all right. No. The ocean will forever have waves. It is you that must be steady. Do not complain about the tidal movement of the ocean. You are the steadying factor. That is the only one. Yes. Yeah. Goes with the territory. If you want to be private, that's cool. Build your fence. But know when you build your fence, the inquirer is going to say, you hate your fans. Know that. Therefore, you must be clear enough to know that when that negative is there, the positive is also there. You're just not looking at it. You're looking only at one part of it. See, that's the key. That's why you must be the steadying influence. You look right at it. You say, it's like the economy is terrible, but it is the perfect time to bring about new enterprises. Because now people have to find new and different ways in which to make money. And finding that new and different way, whether it is a twist of what you're already doing or a whole new ball game, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be either one. You see, whatever it is, you, instead of Oh God, the economy is so bad, blah, 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 blah. Oh, Lordy, Lordy. Woe is me. Oh, tote that barge, lift that bale. Oh, woe is me. Well, that's all right if you're a blues singer. See, you take that and you go sing the blues somewhere and you make some money. You understand? See? You have to look at it. What are the characteristics to this side? What are the characteristics to this side? To here, here, and what are the characteristics and possibilities off of that? And you do it. That way you're always looking for the plus goal in the quote minus goal. The quote minus goal is there to teach you to look, not to become mired in, but to look. When I traded, it was one of the things that was most astounding to me. There was not any reason except people started, they get fearful and stuff would come down. When they started feeling, stuff would go up. And the only issue was the psychological attitudes of the people. That's why nobody can figure it out. Because it doesn't have to do with factors out here, it has to do with factors in here. So what appeared to be a negative is in fact a positive. You understand? It is to say that what you call the ups and downs, everybody's happy when it's up, nobody's happy when it's down. Well, the downs are just the signal it's time to go another direction, and it will go to those who find the other direction. They will be the forefront of the new economies or the new thoughts or the new whatever. But if you carry that judgment, this is bad, you're going to be screwed. I said to you many years ago that the coming time was the time of wave energy. Wave energy being electrical energy, being light energy, the whole thing. Well, what you saw was the culmination or the beginnings of what that kind of technology, wave technology, can do. Because of the energy of the time that is coming in, wave energy. That combined with the desire to have it done quickly. Thought, wave energy, bam, instantaneously. When the technology meets and the mind meets the same energy, it's quicker. That's what I say to you about your being. When the mind comes in, the technology comes in alignment with the source, the energy source, those things that you desire, bingo, just like that. When we cut out all the other stuff. I will say it again. Those people who by reason of their own minds become victim of the energy flows. It is not the person. It is their circumstances that they do not understand that allows them to participate and become the expression of the energy flow. Said that each and every person who experienced war within themselves was just as responsible for this war as Hussein, as George Bush, as the military leadership, on either side, or France, or Russia, or Japan, or whatever. Each person who experiences the war, the conflict within their being, is just as responsible. So, this is ridiculous. You look at the makeup of Hussein. He was a man who mother left his father with the father's brother, and who later was pregnant with this child. And the father used to wake him up every morning by kicking him and telling him to get up, you illegitimate bastard, you. Well, how would you expect this child to turn out? He killed his first man when he was 15 years old. An abused child abuses. Abuses what? Whatever he can abuse. Depends on how much power he has. Now, we have no right to hate this man. We may, but we will only because we hate those things within ourselves. We must understand he is what he is, the same reason you are what you are. The same reason you do the bullshit that you do. See? It's not the man. It is who is open to certain energies. Those are open to the, quote, negative line up on this side. Those who are open to the, quote, positive line up on this side. Those of us who are open to both watch and say, how foolish. How foolish of you not to know yourself. How foolish of you to allow yourself to become a victim of an energy flow. To allow you to do X. Realizing fully that X must happen. It must happen. This war had to happen. Wars will always happen. But I don't have to be the one responsible. You see? By cleaning up my own act. You see? Wars must happen. There will become a period of time. I think it is... someone said there will be a period of 1,000 years of peace upon the earth. It's more like 100. Because we can't hold out much longer than that. Because if you'll notice, each generation tries to go the opposite. They're not smart enough to know that there's another alternative. So if this generation is peace-loving, the next generation is warlike. Right? And it just keeps going back and forth in order to have that thing that makes things move. So to look for that kind of peace upon the earth is sheer foolishness. I think that is enough for today. Think on these things and then experiment. Look at thought process. You will see it just hangs there. And once you get past that, some incredible things begin to poke out. Some incredible powers that are naturally yours.